Welcome in to the 411 on Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Blake Lovell. With me once again, Steve Cook. And on the last episode, Steve, we continued our journey down memory lane as we went back to 2002 and looked at the first ever WWE draft, which was on the March 25th episode of Raw. Actually, we're going to do that in another episode here coming up. We're going to talk about Backlash, but for now, we are going to stick with some current stuff, and that is going to be a couple big noteworthy news items this week in the world of professional wrestling. And let's start with AEW, because a lot of speculation about where the former Aleister Black was going to land. Well, Aleister Black did not land in AEW. However, Malakai Black did. What did you think?
He landed a little earlier than people thought as
Yes.
well, because I guess there's a little discrepancy on the 90-day non-compete and the 30-day non-compete. And it turns out that Malakai Black had the 30-day, which I think it's tough because you kind of want to blame WWE for forgetting that when guys' things expire. I would love to blame Bruce Pritchard for that because he did it back in the TNA, where he forgot where guys' contracts expired and whatnot. And I'd love to throw that blame on Bruce because, well, I like blaming Bruce Pritchard for things because why wouldn't we? But I do think that they don't mind it as much because it keeps Zelina Vega happy, because Zelina likes her husband.
Right.
And Zelina's going to be jobbing for 2 minutes for the rest of her life, so anything keeps her happy. That's Zelina Vega re-debut. How about that? That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, she's back now too. So
How about that? How about that return? That is great. What a great piece of business there. I think the Malakai Black's debut went a little bit better. What do you think?
I think it was probably a little bit better. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, if you want to compare the two debuts, the re-debuts or returns or whatever you want to compare the two debuts, re-debuts that happened last week or so, I think that Malakai's went a little bit better.
Yeah.
I guess they had some weather issues in Miami because with the hurricane and tropical storm going on and all that stuff. You know, you have some weather issues. These things happen, and lights cut out, things like that. And of course, Arn Anderson's out there kind of promo, and the lights go out. Oh shit, hurricane. And it's Malakai Black / Tommy End. And he kicks Arn's head off. And Arn does the best sell ever. Arn just dies. It's great.
Well, I'm a big fan of doing how they did it. Like you said, they did it earlier where it's okay, the lights go out and we don't really think anything of it. But I'm a big fan of the foreshadowing. That's you can hook me with that. And then for him to actually make his debut the way that he did.
And Arn dies.
Right,
That's
and
great.
Arn's just out. So clearly, we're heading towards Malakai Black and Arn Anderson. No, obviously the direction.
No, absolutely not, because
yeah,
Tony Schiavone's smart enough to get out of the ring at this point.
yes. Well, I mean, obviously, that's where we're headed. It's going to be Aleister Black and Cody. I guess it's just a matter of, are they going to put that maybe on, I don't know, a Rampage, the debut or something, or do they hold that off until
Either the debut Rampage
out.
or All Out.
Yeah.
For you, Michaels.
I've already seen some hesitations from people who are uh-oh, they're going to put him with Cody, they're worried that, but come on.
Because Cody's had some troubles lately. There's been some issues with Cody booking as of late. Let's be honest. And early on, Cody was one of the best things at AEW. For the first few months or so, all of Cody's stuff was fire. The feud with Jericho, the feud with with the MJF, the feud of MJF before he cut that off. He had a lot of good stuff going early on, and I don't know what happened there, but there came a point where man, Cody's stuff wasn't as good. I don't know. You remember jumping? You know what the jumping off point was, Blake? Where do you think Cody jumped the dolphin there?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of
as opposed to jumping the shark. We can't say jumping the shark. So jump the dolphin. What happened?
Trying to think of
what went wrong.
What went wrong with when that could have been? Because even, I mean, the stuff with Brody Lee was good, right?
Yeah, stuff with Brody's fun.
Yeah, the stuff with Brody Lee was good, and then Darby beats him for the TNT title. That was great. That's big.
Was it just when he started feuding with QT? Because QT's not a bad wrestler. He's not a bad worker, not a bad talker,
right. But who wins in that feud, right? Who's benefiting? Neither one of them, really.
A guy.
Yeah. Like, if QT wins that feud, what does that mean? Like, is he going to...
Nothing.
Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And Cody wins the feud, it means nothing either. I mean, look, I was not... I'm a huge fan of Jade Cargill now, and I think Red Velvet in the same. Like, they have both really...
Oh, yeah, the Cody Shaq build.
But I just feel like that was one of those things where it's like, you had to do that. I understand why you had to do it, but I felt like that was something where it's like, all right, you start... And then look, but since then, right, like, that's what it's been. It's been the QT thing. It's been the Anthony Ogogo thing, where it's just like, what also does that serve for Cody, just to beat Anthony Ogogo in 10 minutes?
And Ogogo has some potential too.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing, and I know people, look, we understand, like, people want to draw the comparison between Cody and Triple H, like, because that's what they're always going to do.
Because that's what Cody wants us to do.
And I feel like that is the thing where I think you don't want to get too far into that territory of, because listen, if Cody beats Malakai Black, like, if they have their match and Cody wins that match, I don't think he's going to. Like, surely they're not going to actually do that. I would hope they have some kind of awareness, but if that happens, like that's exactly the points people are going to make. Is that right there about Triple H?
Yep. Because as much as Malakai Black / Tommy End / whatever, he had some stuff to say, and people had different opinions about it, but there's something there with that guy.
Oh, yeah. They
got something. We don't know what it is, but there's something there. I love the fact, by the way, that I know a lot of people complained about the makeup on the face, but I love the fact that he's still putting over the fact that he got his eye popped out of his freaking head.
Right.
But other people in WWE, they don't care. We got our eye popped out. We're fine. We're wrestling a couple weeks later. It's okay. This man is taking it personally. His eye got popped out of his freaking head. He's not happy. Would you be happy if somebody knocked your eye out of your head?
No.
Rey Mysterio is okay with this, apparently, but Malakai / Aleister Black, he is not happy about this. And, he's going to take it out on somebody. And, I don't know what excuses he can come up with for going after Cody Rhodes, but I think we'll accept it. We'll be okay with it, whatever it is.
Right. So I'm curious because And this is what this is going to lead into, because, we can talk about his debut, but until, the next steps, we don't really know. But another thing that people have brought up, and I also understand this point, like, we start to look at this AEW roster now, and, like, we know, like, they don't lack money. Like, Tony Khan has thrown his money around at everything when it comes to...
He's got money, it's all right. And his father's okay with him spending that money. We've established that. It's fine.
And when Jon Moxley comes out on next week's Dynamite to defend the NWJPW, U.S. title, when Wild Thing's playing, like, he's buying, like, Tony Khan is just buying songs. Like, it's just like, this guy can do whatever he wants to do.
He is funding I'm going to jump off on a tangent here, because he is funding a feud between Cincinnati independent wrestling promotions. Jon Moxley representing the HWA, and Carl Anderson / Chad Too Bad representing the Northern Wrestling Federation. I just love it, because I never thought the HWA versus NWF feud would make national TV. It has. Wow. Thanks to Tony Khan. So God bless you, Tony. I love you.
Well, I think that, again, he has the money. He is bringing in everyone that he can get his hands on. But I understand, like, I'm starting to get to that point where I get it. Like, this guy's a big star, and I have no qualms with AEW bringing him in with Malakai Black. Like, it just makes sense.
That's fine.
But I think it's like, there comes a time where, look, when did Christian debut? That was, gosh, how long? Like,
poor Christian.
3 or 4 months ago now?
The future Hall of Fame.
I don't even know. Like, Christian debuted, and then we had Andrade. Now we have Malakai Black. I don't know. Like, eventually, do you have... I don't know, like, do you have Braun Strowman? Do you have the icon? Like, and look, Daniel Bryan's another one, right? Like, we don't know what the hell he's doing.
Poor Andrade already feels like he's phased out, doesn't he? His debut went over like nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, is like, I just don't... Again, I am not blaming AEW, because they are... Look, they're the number 2 in this category, and if you want to become top and the best, like, you want to feel like you have the best talent roster you can compile, and I get that, but I think logistically, you still have 2 hours of Dynamite. I guess, you've got as much as you want when it comes to Elevation and Dark. You got Rampage coming up. But I'm just like, are people going to be, like, you have such a huge roster to where it's like, at some point, are people going to be required to, like, watch all 4 shows to be able to keep up with like 83 different storylines going on because you just have so many people on the roster. That's what I worry about a little bit, I think, with AEW at this point.
And that's a fair point, and people have already complained about the YouTube shows. People already complained about, oh, well, we have to watch Being the Elite. We have to watch Sammy Guevara's vlog to keep track of, the Dark Order and all this other stuff they have going on. And people already complained about that. So I understand where you're coming from. It's like, as the roster gets bigger, it's like, man, we got to watch this. We got to watch that. We got to watch this and the other thing. So
yeah,
I do understand where it becomes an issue. And people, as much as people like to say, oh, streaming is the future, and, everybody watches things on YouTube now, and blah, blah, blah. You know what? When I watch things on YouTube, they're not an hour long.
Right.
I'm watching things on YouTube for like a minute,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm watching clips of stuff. I'm not watching a freaking hour-long, 2-hour-long thing. It's just, it's a short attention span theater is what that is. And that's what the future generation is. I don't hate them for it because I have a pretty low attention span myself. So it is what it is.
As we're going to talk about when we do our Backlash sort of rerun on the next episode, we're going to really get into that because I'm like...
The short attention span.
Yeah, like it's... But I think that's a good... that's a good point where it's like, I don't know that a lot of people are... Which, hey, listen, the Dark and Elevation numbers, they're good. They get hundreds of thousands of views or whatever on those. That's great. But like you said, I think it's... But what I guess we've seen that too, where it's like, if you're watching Dynamite and you don't watch some of the other stuff, you have a pretty good idea of what's going on, but there are going to be those little things that you miss, I guess, when it comes to some of this stuff. Now, certainly you won't have to worry about it with some of the guys because they're never going to be on Dark. I guess the report we saw today, actually, we had something on the site about, I guess it was from the Observer or somewhere. I don't want to say exactly because I don't remember where it's from, but it's like, that AEW wants to make Elevation this big thing to where it's like you do have stars on there and all this other stuff, and I'm just thinking that's fine, right? But then it becomes, okay, you got Elevation, then you got Dynamite, then you got Rampage that's coming up soon. So it's just I don't know, it's a huge roster, and I think it's good to have the problem of having that many shows to work with, but...
And it is always a problem. It's always a good problem as far as, whenever, as a sports fan, when I'm a sports fan, as we all know. And me following Cincinnati Reds, and people talk about how we have too many infielders, too many outfielders. I always think it's a good problem to have too many of anything. Yeah. If you have too many of something, that's not bad because things will sort themselves out eventually. You'll figure out who's good and who's bad. You'd rather have too many than too few. If you have too few stars to feature, that's a problem.
And there were the rumors, right, that WWE, among everything, it's like, okay, well, people in backstage are like, we want to bring Malakai Black back, right? That was the rumor. And so it's like, I'm not going to blame Tony Khan one bit for not allowing that to happen and saying, look, we're going to get this guy.
Yeah, as soon as you can, if that's might as well.
And look, it's going to be the same thing, right? With, let's say, Daniel Bryan. Let's just use that as an example. If that situation happens, no one's going to blame him.
I have no idea what's going on with Daniel Bryan. Let's just say I have no idea.
No clue. But if AEW signs him, guess what? No one's going to be upset, aside from WWE people. But it's like...
Yeah, they'll be upset. But if he's on my TV, I'm happy. Is all I'll say about that.
That's all that matters. So there again, it's like, well, you look at the roster, you're like, oh, it's getting bigger and bigger, but then you can make the understanding that it's like, well, they have to sign some of these guys. But then again, maybe look, it's where you bring in the biggest stars you can, and you've heard, I think, people who have been in these roles before say this, but it's like you top load where you bring in the stars, and then you just start to cut things out at the bottom, and that could be something AEW has to do, where it's like they can't keep all these people at the bottom that aren't really doing a whole lot.
The thing is, I think AEW does have a lot of people that they're looking to release at some point. They don't want to, because they know the optics. They know that WWE got a lot of heat for releasing people, so I think that what they're doing is Tony Khan's just gonna let a bunch of contracts expire. Yeah. Like he did with a few other, like Awesome Kong, and with Evil East and with some other people that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Shanna, I think, was one. Yeah,
there will be certain names that will just, their contracts will expire, and that's all right. I have no problem with that. And there's probably a bunch coming up too. If I had to guess, there's probably a bunch coming up.
I was gonna say there's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if you just kind of Yeah,
a lot of people that haven't been booked recently on anything other than Dark, or you might want to. And they probably know too already. I figure if you're on the roster and you haven't been on Dark, if you've only been on Dark, you probably know already. You're like, my time's probably a little bit limited here. Is my guess. If I was in that position, I would know. I don't know if they know, but I would know.
Well, I mean, and look, it goes back to, we know like there's still this crossover stuff. It's not a lot of people, but it's like, they're still bringing people in from Impact or New Japan. Like, the more that expands.
They always bring in the Good Brothers from the Impact, apparently.
Yeah, that's true.
Which that's a whole other issue with the whole Impact. The Impact AEW thing is a whole other issue.
Well,
how they botched that whole thing. God.
Yeah, that's I think that's the best way to put it. Like, there is a lot going on with AEW. They have no shortage of content on any on any front. Like, they have plenty happening. So that's better than not having anything, like you said earlier. So that is a good thing for AEW right now. So speaking of things on the opposite end of the spectrum, if we go to WWE, the big news on Friday is that Bayley is going to be out for approximately 9 months. The reports are that she suffered a torn ACL. I think Fightful basically said that she was training at the Performance Center. Her knee popped. We know that's never good. And now, Steve, I'm going to quiz you because I had to look this up.
Okay.
The SmackDown women's roster at this point.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, and this is going to be to a bigger point. I'm going to say there are aside from Bayley, and not counting Bianca Belair, she's the champion, that's obvious. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active women's wrestlers on the SmackDown women's roster. Can you name those 6?
Okay, well, Zelina Vega just came back last week.
All right, 5.
We got Liv Morgan.
4.
We got, are we counting Natalia? And,
yes, we have to
Tamina?
count them. Right.
We count them.
Yep, so we're down to 2.
That's 4. And god damn. Who was it?
Well, there's one I know there's one you're forgetting. It's because she hasn't been on.
Obvious that somebody that they put in my back match, right?
Sasha Banks hasn't been on in a while. So
okay, yeah, okay. So there's.
But
Sasha,
then the other one, yes, is Money in the Bank.
And I'm trying to think of who the fuck it is. And I'm drawing a blank.
Well,
okay,
the thing is, like, she may actually be the one that ends up challenging Bianca Belair now, because we know it was going to be Bayley, but Carmella is the other one.
Carmella!
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, okay, wow. Oh, there's a stout women's, WWE, the hub of women's wrestling. But that's what they tell us. That's why everybody says, oh, WWE is such great women's wrestling, so much better than AEW. And this is what we got here. Okay, all right.
Well, I mean, look.
One woman, Bayley going out. That's how. Okay, that's what we got. Okay.
This is part of the bigger problem, though, right? It's like, this is partly their. I mean, a lot of it is their own doing, like, because they have not booked in a situation like, look, I'm not going to say anything bad about Bianca Belair, although I think she's probably not as strong as she was, just because I think sometimes we see that, and we've talked about that before, right? Like, sometimes they don't know what to do with babyface champions. Like, they just...
No, they don't.
They really struggle with that.
I am a big Bianca... I love Bianca Belair. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Not love, you know what I mean. I think she's a great talent. I think she's a tremendous wrestler. And I think she can have some great matches, but where are her challengers other than Bayley? Who else is that roster challenger other than Bayley? Who else is there?
Got to be Sasha. Like, that's it.
Oh, she gets a great match with Carmella? No.
I was going to say, like, Sasha at SummerSlam is like, that's the only way they can go at SummerSlam, I think, at this point.
I mean, Sasha and Bayley are the only 2 people who can challenge her.
Yeah.
Like, who else is there on that roster?
Well, and I think, like, Becky is still technically on Raw. I would not be shocked if they bring her back to SmackDown. Although,
That'd be fine. I would love to see Becky and Bianca. That'd be great.
Right. That would be something fresh. And, like, we can't say that. Like, again, this is not me bashing WWE, but
if they bring Becky back next week to challenge Bianca, that'd be great. I'd be sold. All right, let's do it.
Becky's gonna be back sooner rather than later, but it's like, if you look at Raw, like, what the hell is going on with Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley? Like, I don't even know I don't even understand anything about the storyline that they're doing with these two.
I mean, Jim Cornette can tell you they're both great wrestlers and he loves everything that they all do. But, I mean, maybe he can explain the booking because I sure can't.
No, it's very confusing. And, like, you know, if you go to the Raw women's side, like,
as much as I love Rhea Ripley, oh, my God.
Like, I will tell you, like, if you... Listen, you're the top 7 on 411. Like, if you put together the top 7 most botched NXT call-ups, like, in history, I think she's in the top 3, without question, this far. And she hasn't even been up that long. But, like,
okay, I'm going to do that.
There's a challenge for you.
Yeah, so we'll do that pretty soon. That'll be the next... I like that. That's a good one. There are a lot of them.
Yeah,
there are a lot of botched NXT call-ups. That'll be a tough one, too.
Yes. How you narrow that to 7 is going to be the biggest challenge.
Right?
But it's like, I have no idea what they're doing. But if you look at the Raw women's roster, okay, Alexa Bliss, who the hell, like, I don't even know what to even...
And, you know, Alexa Bliss would be she'd be a great addition to any roster if she wasn't doing whatever the fuck she's doing.
Right, okay. Asuka. She's another one where it's like, great, I thought last year, but like booking wise, I have no idea where she's at right now.
She's nothing.
We mentioned Charlotte, same situation.
Yeah.
Dana Brooke, not really factored in with the Mandy thing. Let's just add Dana and Mandy to the same group. Like they're doing the tag.
Whatever. Yeah.
Dewdrop.
Good Lord.
Eva Marie. Let's just add.
You know, I'm an Eva Marie fan. I like what she brings to the table in some ways. But they've handled this whole thing with her and Dewdrop completely wrong. They completely botched that whole thing. They got cute by having them, you know, turn on each other in the first match. You don't turn on each other in the first match. You build that shit up.
Yeah.
They got cute. They're like, oh, we'll have Dewdrop turn on Eva Marie in the first match. Fuck, what are you doing? That's stupid. What the fuck are you doing?
Like, I want to run down each of these women just because I want, like, if someone thinks we're wrong about this, like, please tell us. Yeah. Like, if you tell us where someone is getting masterfully booked on the women's side, let me know because I don't see it. Lacey Evans is away. We know she's have her either.
But even Dewdrop that could have worked if they built that up.
Right.
But they turned him in the first fucking match.
Yeah.
And then they came back with it after, like, oh, we're supposed to care now. Oh, what? Why?
Naomi, what is she doing on Raw? Anything? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck knows?
Nia Jax, nothing.
Well, her and Shayna. Oh, well, yeah. That means her and Shayna. Good Lord, that poor.
Shayna's had to go into the Alexa thing.
Remember when Shayna Baszler was like a freaking god? Remember that in NXT?
And then she came in as a vampire.
Yeah. Oh god.
Bit Becky.
That poor woman.
Nikki, well, I guess what is it? Nikki Ash.
Oh, Nikki Ash now. Yeah, that's a great thing. And I know she pitched it, so don't yell at me. I know that's her gimmick. She pitched it. She had a drawing, and the drawing guy put it over, and it's like, oh my god, it's just a great gimmick. Oh yeah,
it's different. I mean, I'll give her that. Like it's different. It's
shit. I'll say it's not good.
All right. Well, Shane is the last one on the list. So again,
Nikki Ash and Nia Jackson. Yeah, they can't keep that straight.
Like, this is my point. Think about this. We have just went through the entire WWE women's roster on the main brand. And I think, really, this is what I mean when we're talking about the impact of Bayley, who I think was probably one of the better booked ones of the entire group. Arguably, maybe the best booked one of the entire group. But beyond that, like, this is the problem. You've got numbers, but who is, like...
They're playing numbers, but none of them are booked in a way where you can take any of them seriously.
How about this question? When Becky comes back, who the hell is going to beat Becky? Like,
oh, good Lord.
On this roster, like right now, aside from Bianca and Sasha, and I think Bayley's probably in that group. But
and
like
Charlotte could beat her. Yeah, Charlotte.
She could. We know. Like the way they're booking her right now, I don't.
We know Charlotte. That is what it is. Yeah.
And they're gonna, if they want it to be if they want Rhea Ripley, like they're gonna have to do some major rehabbing on that because I think they have just completely destroyed her at this point.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the thing is once Becky comes back, that's gonna be great. But it's like I don't know what you do because no one's gonna like she's gonna be the Roman now, where it's like no one's actually gonna aside from a couple people. There's really not much there. So
That's the problem with the Roman character too, is because everybody tells me, well, the Roman character's great. Well, that's great. That's good. But what the fuck else is on SmackDown? Who can beat that guy? You gonna tell me Edge can beat him? No, come on. Yeah, Edge. Okay, yeah, we're gonna sell you on that. Okay.
Well,
all right.
That's a deeper discussion too about kind of where they go with Roman, which I wrote that article. It's been months ago now, but like at the time I was, I said, okay, I'm gonna pick 5 guys who they could book to beat Roman, and of course some of them are obvious, right? Like it's The Rock, it's Brock Lesnar, it's Drew McIntyre, like those I think are John Cena. But like I put Big E in there. I'm like, they haven't booked Big E to this point to be able to.
Not right now. God.
I mean, so it's just like, I know, like this sounds like that it's just us bashing WWE, but in a sense, like
it is.
I mean, you have to point out some of this stuff. I am saying it out of frustration more than just like, okay, I'm not like, oh, I hate WWE. Like I'm saying it frustration wise because these are the things I think you have to think about. Where it's like, okay, you are gonna have Becky coming back. Now you've got Bayley out for 9 months. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Never seen a good, a Becky Bayley feud would have been tremendous.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
I would love to see that.
But I'm just like, they have put all of this, they put so many people, I think, in a corner to where it's like, you have no faith in them being able to, like, again, for the love of God, I know surely they're not going to do this. I can't imagine they're going to think to do this, but it's like, if Becky comes back and 2 months in, she's feuding with Alexa Bliss, and this current character, like,
oh God,
it's just like, that worries me a little bit.
They could have Becky cry. If they would do a flashback, they could have Becky go in the corner and crying like her husband. There you go. That'd be great, right? And now I said they'll probably book it.
Well, I just had flashbacks to I do this a lot now. Whenever I think of just what's the worst thing I've seen in WWE in a while, like I always have flashbacks to Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt in the cell.
Anything with the Fiend is what I go to for the worst in WWE.
And I feel bad because I love Bray Wyatt. Like I just think the creativity is just great, but it's just like
it's a shit. The Fiend, it's a shit. The Fiend's of the shits. I can't make any excuse for that.
So
all shit.
Anyways, but clearly we're in a very positive vibe when it comes to our expectations for the main roster.
Or Bayley. I hope Bayley comes back strong, and I hope that I guess it's a knee injury. A lot of us might have thought that if she was out for 9 months, it might mean something else.
Well,
but that'd be better off than a knee injury. So
torn ACLs are always tricky because it's like, yes, there's a lot of people come back from them and everything's fine, but it's like that's a significant injury. So yeah, I'm sure she has the best. I mean, look, she's in WWE. They'll give her the best possible path.
Like Bayley.
Yeah, Bayley's great. So
we have nothing bad to say about Bayley. We just have bad things to say about people trying to book her.
Yes, there you go. Oh my goodness. So
I mean, because Bayley is the best babyface ever of all time, and then she went to the main roster, and then they had turned her heel, and she was good at that too because she's a good performer.
She's been fantastic.
She's a good performer. She can do the heel stuff. I mean, even though she's the best babyface in NXT of all time, she can still turn heel because she knows how to do it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's gonna be tough, I think, to see what they do because, again, I wouldn't be shocked if they brought Becky to SmackDown when she comes back, just out of Seth's on the brand to their. How it goes with that. So I would not be shocked if they put her there. I don't know what that's going to mean for Raw.
I'm all about Bayley versus Bianca. That'd be, Becky versus Bianca would be great. I don't care. I mean, Raw. I try to ignore Raw at this point. Let's be honest. It's a shit show.
It has. Look, it's gotten there. There have been a couple decent episodes in recent weeks. I will say that. Like I know we spent 15 minutes talking about the negatives, but it's like. They've done some good things, but still, it's not. Here's what I'm very curious about. I saw someone mention this, and I'm curious what you think. Like, people are thinking, and here's in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to say what I think when people say this, but it's like, people are like, well, they're just kind of holding off until fans come back, and then we're going to see the good stuff. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Like, when they had fans, they were doing some of the same stuff, and... I mean, but like that is going to be interesting, right? When you think about it, like how do you think people are going to react to Alexa Bliss? Like all this other stuff, like what are they going to do?
Oh God!
I don't know. So
God.
we saw
That's
it at
funny.
WrestleMania, but I think it's like now that you have it on a weekly basis.
I'm sorry. I'm. That's just funny. It's like, oh, they've been holding off on the good stuff.
Well,
Because we know WWE Korea is all full of the good stuff, right?
well,
They got the good stuff. They're holding off until they have the fans and ends. Oh, good lord! I'm sorry. I just have to laugh at that. That's funny.
well, you rely on your stars to carry things, so maybe getting Becky back. Roman's, I mean, he is where he is right now. Everything else, I think, is. I'm curious to see, like with Lashley, those kind of things. So I don't know. I think it will be interesting. Like I will say that I am looking forward to those first couple of shows because we know they're going to pack everything into those. But as always, like it's the follow up. Like what do you do after that? After those first couple of shows with fans back, like what do you do?
I will say we did see with AEW when they had the first crowd back for this week.
Yep.
For the Miami show.
It's different.
We saw some things that worked.
Yeah.
We saw some things that didn't work. We saw that the fans were excited to see Hangman and Page challenge for that fucking title.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's going to be nuts, by the way.
The fans are behind. Fans want to see Hangman do his thing. They want to see that. The Dark Order, they're going to try to build him up for it. You got to see it happen. Oh, man, the Omega Page build. I love it.
Here's a question for you. So, like, in the WWE world, when again, we've seen it at WrestleMania, but I think it's going to be different now. Like, is there anyone you think, off, like, the top of your head, you think that maybe, like, right now, without fans, we've just kind of been like, okay, we don't know how fans are going to react. But then once you actually have fans coming back on a regular basis, they're either going to completely, like, come on board with, or they're just going to completely turn against.
Oh.
Because you know what? Someone mentioned, I heard this, like, people are curious about this Drew McIntyre thing, because I know...
I am too.
Well, because and the thing is, it's not Drew McIntyre. It's like some of these promos he's been doing, like, they're just like, I don't know what he's saying. And, like, I feel like they've taken away that edge he had before. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I could eventually... I hope it's not the case. I think fans are going to be fine and cheering him because I think he's reached that level now where he's like, okay, we've seen him as sort of the top babyface for a year plus now, and it's like, okay, he's on that level, but I wonder sometimes with the stuff they're giving him, it's starting to feel like what they did at times with Reigns and Cena, and I'm just like, don't do that. So
it's gonna be interesting. I'm not too sure about that one. It's gonna be interesting to see because it's sad because Drew McIntyre, a talented wrestler in the ring. I don't think anybody will deny that. I think he's done a good job in the ring with what he's had to work with. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to say about him live with an audience. It's tough to say.
Think fans are going to cheer Lashley? Like, I could see that.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that because Lashley's a likable guy.
Yeah. Like, I could see that.
Even MVP there, he seems, I have no problem with Lashley. Good guy.
I think Riddle and Orton are going to be pretty over, I think. I think people are going to really dig kind of that.
And I'm not a big Riddle guy.
Yeah.
And I know that puts me against most of the IWC or whatever you want to have. But, people like Riddle. They think he's a good worker, or they think cool, man, because he smokes marijuana or whatever the fuck. People like that, but not my deal. But I think people will like that.
Well,
and Randy Orton, that's a divisive figure too, because wrestling fans like him, but nobody else likes him. He's not one of those guys. That's the thing about Randy Orton, as opposed to like Cena or Lesnar or Batista or guys of his generation. They can draw in people that aren't wrestling fans.
Yeah,
Randy Orton can draw in wrestling fans. He can't draw in anybody else. Right?
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting with him, but I think people are going to just be all over. I think they're going to be really fine. Like, here's like the big one, obviously, is Roman Reigns, right? Like, he got booed at WrestleMania.
He is SmackDown at this point. He is SmackDown right now.
But I feel like it's like people are going to have no choice but to cheer this guy. Like, I mean, that's the problem, though, right?
On that show? Who else can you cheer on that show?
Who are they going to put him up against? But I think that's where it's okay, with Cena. Like, right? Like, what is that response going to be? Like, we're going to have the 50-50. Like, we're going to have the dueling chance. Like, we already know that's coming. If it's Reigns and Cena at SummerSlam. Well, and look, this has been reported that it could be Reigns and Cena. Some have said it could be a lock, but apparently there's a wrinkle thrown in with Cena doing a new movie or something that's actually going to start.
So, yeah, I would not count on John Cena being there for SummerSlam. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the question for you then. Who the hell does Roman Reigns face at SummerSlam?
Edge.
Again? Back to back?
Rematch. What? What the? I don't know. Because I've seen, like, who can you throw against? Throw Kevin Owens out there again? I don't know.
They can't go to Rollins this quick. They can't build that up this quickly.
Like they about can't... Kevin Owens?
I mean,
Owens deserves a rematch, doesn't he?
I was gonna say, like, yeah, I guess they could. I don't know what. I feel like it has to be Cena because I feel like they have not built in any other idea on who it's gonna be. So
if it's not Cena, it should be Kevin Owens. Is what I'll say there. That's what I'll say.
That's who you're pushing for.
If they can't get John Cena, I'll say Kevin Owens deserves a rematch. So fuck it. There you go.
Don't beat Big E yet. Don't put him there and beat him.
No, he's not ready. So. There's no reason to think that Big E should deserve a title shot.
It doesn't matter who they put there. Reigns isn't losing. So.
Be a bunch of people. I mean, because good Lord, I'm gonna throw in an AEW gripe at this point because I'm just gonna throw that in there. Why not? My main AEW gripe at this point is the Andrade debut or the debut match. He faced off against Matt Sydal, which is fine because I like Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal is a great wrestler.
Yep.
He's a guy I like to see wrestle. I like to see him out there doing his thing. How in the hell is Matt Sydal in the top 5? Who the hell did he beat?
You want me to tell you? Because I cover AEW Dark every week, and I will tell you that he has won every single match I can recall in the past probably 10 months. Who did he beat? Everybody.
Who?
Well, that's a good question. He's beaten... They pretty much put him in there, I think, with everyone that's worked AEW Dark that's not a signed talent.
Did he beat anybody of importance that I would know? No. So they just put Matt Sydal in top 5 so Andrade could beat him. That's great.
There is the limitation of the rankings there. There's where you run into trouble.
Because Matt Sydal runs up his record against a less than competent talent roster. And then...
well,
that drove me crazy. And then the match, I mean, that also drove me crazy because he did not look particularly good in the match. Let's be honest.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I don't want people to think that we're just bashing on WWE the whole time. AEW has issues.
AEW too. Why not?
We did that earlier with the bloated roster, so we're trying to pick apart things right now.
We're bashing everybody.
That's fine. So we're trying to add some positivity here and there, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, like, we'll talk about Money in the Bank next week because I think because again, like at this point, unfortunately, we have no idea what the SmackDown Women's Title match is going to be because Bayley's out and maybe
Sonya Deville is holding people out. Yeah, whatever.
What about Sonya Deville? Is she going to come back? I like her. I think.
I wish she would.
She was always one of my favorites in terms of.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, she's good. So.
Put her in the ring. I like it.
I like that. Let's get her back. What I was going to say. I was about to get into some of these potential call-ups, but that's going to... Oh, boy. I don't know what they're going to do.
The potential call-ups from NXT. Oh, God.
God. I don't know. They've had whoever. Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, God.
They've all... I worry for all of them. So... I don't know, but we'll see.
They should put Toni Storm up there because they can book her worse on their main run roster than they have on NXT. Right? Because they've completely botched Toni Storm on NXT, so why not push her up?
Big fan of Toni Storm, too. I think she's...
I like her, but they completely botched her on NXT, haven't they?
Well, I honestly think NXT sometimes runs into the opposite problem, where it's like, I don't think they have enough time sometimes to be able to... Like, it's like... I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm like... No, don't give them a second show. Like, there's too much wrestling to watch. We can't do it.
Do NXT Dark? Okay.
Oh, God. Please don't. Like, we have too much to watch.
They tried that. Booked it around Tino Sabatini. What is it? Tino Sabatini? What the fuck his name was? Whoever it was, it didn't work. It got botched, Well, he got fired.
When in doubt, don't forget, Steve, there's always Happy Corbin. So, since Baron Corbin is officially, I guess now, about to be I don't know what they're doing with Corbin and
What?
Shinsuke Nakamura. So you don't even know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
So
I'm watching soccer over here. I don't know what you're
oh
talking
God.
about.
So apparently WWE filed for a trademark for Happy Corbin. And all of this
Oh, good
is
Lord.
out of the storyline of Nakamura taking his crown. And apparently, I guess they're with Corbin, which again, we're recording this during SmackDown. So if there's something that is happening, I could not tell you what it is since I'll watch that back. Yeah, so that's there are a lot of positive thoughts on the state of wrestling. Actually, Steve, what about this? Like, how about the timing here? So
Yeah.
on SmackDown, courtesy of 401mania.com, everything we just talked about, right? Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox both just debuted on SmackDown as a tag team.
Oh, there we go.
So what about that? Like, forget everything we said earlier. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, they're going to save the entire division. I hope. I hope someone does.
I hope they do.
So,
I wish they would, because I like Shotzi and I like Tegan, so I really hope that they do.
But here's what I didn't like. You know what happened? They defeated Natalya and Tamina in a non-title match. That's a trope that I'm so tired of. I'm so tired of beating the champions in a non-title match. I'm so tired of it.
We'll get title match at Money in the Bank, of course.
Yes. So, hey.
Or next week on SmackDown.
Well, listen, I have no problem. If they want to give the belts to Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox and just give some sort of, like, just give something to the women's tag titles right now, because I have nothing against Natalya and Tamina, but it's like, where do you go from here with those belts at this point?
And as much as I like Shotzi, she takes shots at people for doing things. So she better hope this WWE thing works out, because we know that if she gets fired, that Chris Jericho makes sure she does not get hired.
Well, here's another thing. Didn't Tegan Nox just return on NXT a couple days ago?
She just returned, and she's got a bad knee.
So
it's all right.
I wonder if this was like one of those quick things, because didn't she just return?
Wait a minute, hold on. What happened to Ember Moon? Where's Ember Moon in all this?
That's a good point, right?
Because wasn't Ember and Shotzi a tag team?
Yeah. Well.
Holy shit! What?
I don't know what to make of it.
Remembering things, I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Well,
and I remember back in the day, if you want a flashback back to 2005 or so, it's probably the wrong year, but what the fuck? When John Morrison and Joey Mercury debuted as Eminem, that tag team, you remember that, right?
Yes.
Eminem, good tag team.
Yeah.
They debuted. And WWE actually wanted for Johnny Nitro / John Morrison to tag with Matt Cappotelli. But somehow they got convinced that Johnny Nitro / Johnny Morrison / whatever the fuck was a better team with Joe Mercury for Eminem. So that happened instead. So now we don't have that check in there to make sure, like, oh, well, maybe Shotzi's a better tag team with Ember. No, Triple H doesn't care. Yeah, tag her with Tegan Nox or whatever the fuck. We don't care.
What do you think those conversations are like? What do you think? Here's my question for you. The big question is, could you, like, if I gave you Triple H's phone for 1 hour, could you imagine some of the things that probably are communicated on that? Like, can you imagine him getting the call probably at times where it's like, I know you just brought this person back on Wednesday for a big feud you got going on, but we're calling her up to SmackDown right now. So, like,
I'm not sure.
Oh God, good shit, pal. Good shit.
Good shit, pal. Poor Ember Moon. I feel bad for her now. Now that I remembered that she was part of tag team with Shotzi Blackheart.
Well, that's gonna. I mean, look, since they won the match on SmackDown, I assume that means they're gonna have something going on. So, I mean, they're not going anywhere. So, well,
so Ember Moon's gonna be the next challenger to Raquel Gonzalez to eat her shit. So there you go.
So. We'll see, but wow, there was a lot in that conversation.
And I like Shotzi, but man, she's got some weird stuff going on.
Let's be honest. It doesn't matter who we like at times in wrestling. It's like you have to. It's how they're booked. Like it's just such a. And I know we harp on this, but it's like it's such a big part. It was like. People can you can make me like well, not everyone, but a lot of people. There's a lot of people. If you book them the right way, you can make me invested in. But that's on them. So that's the number one thing you have to do. So Wow. So that was a lot. Again, we said there's a lot happening right now with AEW, WWE, and like we said, like Slammiversary's coming up. ROH has got Best in the World, Steve. That's coming up too. Like there's just
yes, it is
a lot happening right now in wrestling. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, and as usual, we will have it all covered over at 411mania.com, and you can check everything out there. I know Steve has got a couple things in the works that will come out this weekend. I will let you plug that. Obviously, NWO week, big week. I don't know, you got something coming on that too.
Yeah, we got NWO week because it is the, and I feel so old for saying it, 25th anniversary of the NWO being founded when Hollywood Hulk Hogan dropped the big leg on Macho Man Randy Savage, and him and Hall and Nash posed, and the people threw the trash in the ring, and Mean Gene was completely shocked and appalled. He called this the New World Wrestling Order Wrestling Brother. You know. That's what he said, right? Pretty close.
That's exactly what he said.
The New World Wrestling Brother. Yeah, that's what he said. So, the NWO, which put the wrestling world on its ear and was a great part of WCW for a long time, and was also a bad part of WCW for a long time, because there was not some good stuff that came from the NWO, and so, which is why I felt compelled to tell you people the top 7 worst members of the NWO.
We have been so we are on a real positive run here, aren't we? Like
really?
everything we're doing is
we're
negative.
Telling you people the worst, yeah. So I'm telling you people the worst members of the NWO, and there are a lot of good wrestlers in that group. You saw it, Blake, right? A lot of good wrestlers, a lot of good people, a lot of solid top stars of
legends
wrestling there.
Mount Rushmore people in this group.
Legends of pro wrestling. Some people that WWE will tell you are the greatest wrestlers of all time are on this list because they were bad members of the NWO.
Multiple.
And you'll agree with me, Blake. You'll agree with me, Blake. But you'll agree that these people did not fit in with the group.
The top 3.
It wasn't good.
The top 3 that you have on this list are just
the top 3 are legends.
It's mind blowing to think that they were ever in the NWO. So
they're bad. They were bad fits, weren't they?
They were bad.
They were bad fits. It just didn't work.
Not at
with
all.
them. No. So you'll get to see that, and honestly, for number 1, I think the only redeeming value was that his son marked out.
Yes.
He was upset about it because I think his son talked about that later on. He was not happy with his father joining the NWO.
He wasn't. Yeah, it's an interesting list. So that will be up on the site on. I guess it'll be up for Sunday morning. So as you're probably already listening to this, if not, it will be there. And check that out. So, and I know Steve also has a botch column that's up as well. Yeah, it's all over there. 411mania.com. We've also got some other stuff up at the site. We got a lot going on right now, as we said, in wrestling. We've got multiple interviews on the site ahead of Best in the World this weekend. We've got one coming up with Mike Bennett. We've also got another, EC3. Like, we've just got stuff everywhere. Our guy, Jeffrey Harris, has got one. We've got stuff going on all over the place over the site.
And I'll tell you, Ring of Honor, and I've been doing their recaps lately, and I don't get to watch the pay-per-views, but I'll tell you, it's some good stuff.
Yeah.
They've put some good shows together. That fight on the farm, I liked it.
It was enjoyable. I thought too.
I know some people probably disagree, but I thought it was good stuff. And J. Mark Briscoe. Oh man, that's a tag team.
They're one of the the classic at this point. Like they're just one of those where it's like
they're one of the best. They're up in the conversation for the best tag team of this century.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while.
I put them there.
For sure. And look, ROH...
I'd say number 1, and may people disagree. May you want to put FTR there. God. Oh, I know the New Day are the greatest tag team of all time, according to WWE. But, I'd put J and Mark ahead of them. I'm just saying.
Speaking of that list, I'm thinking about re-ranking my top 50. I don't know. I think that's going to be a real challenge because... I don't know. Like I'm thinking about doing it. It's going to be a tough thing to do, but I'm thinking about actually doing it. So I'll keep you up to date.
I stopped doing the top. I did a bunch of top 7 tag teams of decades.
Yeah,
and I did not do the top 7 tag teams of the 2010s. Because, for God's sakes.
Well,
let's be honest. Wasn't so great. But if you will put the New Day there, okay, whatever.
We'll see. Oh,
how
about this, Steve? Like something else that I just like. We have talked some of this stuff into reality just in this hour. We've talked. Tony Storm is debuting on SmackDown soon.
Yes.
How about look at this? Like we have done a lot. Do you think it's possible that Vince McMahon has tapped into our feed here and has heard?
Is Tony challenging Bianca?
I don't know, but that
should be happening.
I'm watching this, like I'm kind of like rewinding to the point. Well, rewinding. That's for like I'm on a VCR. I'm not watching it on a VCR, by the way.
You're watching Tony Storm like I'm watching Tony Trish Stratus back in 2002.
Oh,
hey now.
There's a good segue for the next episode of our podcast, which is going to be all about Backlash 2002. We're gonna keep that theme going. As we said, we won't do this every episode, but we may do like every other episode. We're gonna add in some nice retro reviews, and we're actually just gonna go through. I think 2002 right now. We may actually add in some different, like if we get closer to SummerSlam, Steve, I think we should maybe go back and like we'll be at the 2002 one at that point. I don't know, but we might look back at some of the old SummerSlams too. I think that's fun to do, but we are going to like chronologically try to go through 2002, and Backlash is going to be the next one. And
it's an interesting era.
It is. So we're going to go through that. So that will be the next episode of the podcast. It'll be a nice little retro review for you, Backlash 2002. But as we said, there's a lot happening. Tony Storm's coming to SmackDown too. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. Check everything out over at the site, 411mania.com. All of Steve's columns there. You've got, like we said, all of our live coverage of the events and news, everything you need. Lots more columns as well. Check everything out there. And as always, we'll have the GoFundMe for Larry Zonka's family in the show notes. Be sure to continue to share that if you can. And yes, everything else, 411mania.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Any podcast app you use, you can find us there. And thanks as always for listening. And we will talk to you next time here on the 411 on Wrestling Podcast.